Welcome to Ilagan Whiteboard Friday, where we look at complex legal and compliance issues in a simple to do way. This series is brought to you by Ilagan, your partner and provider of end-to-end business services.
Hello, and today we're going to talk about importance of term sheets. I'm here with Naeem Zafar, the author of Get Funded book, really good book. If you're looking for raising fund, I highly recommend this. So Naeem, one of the things about funding is once, you decided how much money you want, you got somebody to write you a check. And then next thing the VC turns around and say, here's my term sheet. What does a term sheet mean?
So first of all, the sequence of event is a little bit different than you described.
Okay.
So nobody writes you a check and say, here's a term sheet. So people, let's talk about what is the funding process. So funding process is approximately anywhere 3 to 6 months courtship. And it starts by you approaching some partner in a VC firm and sending them, perhaps start by a one paragraph email and say, we're doing in this area, are you investing in this area?
Okay.
And if they say yes or no, then you must send them 1 or 2 page executive summary, which basically outlines main topic, what is the unmet need, who has this problem, how are we solving that problem, how are we different, how will we make money, some basic 5 or 6 paragraphs. If they're interested, you ask for a face-to-face meeting. And then if you convince them in face-to-face meeting that what you have something is compelling, they normally then want other partners to meet you. Then they want some people they like, they trust to meet you. So there's a 2-3 months period when you're just meeting one after another, giving this information. Then the next step, if you're happy with that, the next thing they'll send somebody to do due diligence on the company. They'll send somebody who will stay with you 1 or 2 days, go through all your documents, meet all the people, and say, yeah, thumbs up or thumbs down. If you pass that hurdle, then there will be some partnership meeting and they'll decide should they move forward or not. If you pass that hurdle, then you'll get a term sheet. Okay. Term sheet is a non-binding contract to invest on certain terms. It's a 4 to 10 page document which spells out various terms and conditions. The most excited you will be is the few minutes when you see the email come in and before you open the attachment. As soon as you open the attachment, you shall no longer be excited because there'll be onerous terms like, I can't believe I'm going to give these terms. So my first advice is calm down, don't overreact, do not send any email back. You should have already lined up a corporate lawyer who knows you, and let them analyze the term sheet.
By the way, we at Ilagan do help out in doing the term sheet, just a plug.
So typically they give you about 3 days to get back to them to sign the term sheet.
Yeah.
So in 3 days, and sometimes you can negotiate extra couple of days, is to what you agree, what you don't agree. And there's a whole chapter in the Get Funded book about how to analyze term sheets. But typically you want to, there may be 20 things you don't like. You need to sort of discuss among yourself what 3, 4, or 5 things you want to make a big deal about. And then you hopefully can accept some other things. Because they're also watching, are you going to be difficult to work with? Because you come back with all 27 items you want to fight on. Do I really want to marry that girl? I mean, she's going to be like Ladaki. So you may not even want to. So you want to be, reasonable, yet firm in certain things. Then after a term sheet is signed, then you enter what they call a no-shop agreement.
So before we enter, so first of all, so what you're saying is term sheets are negotiable. So it's not that if VC has sent me a term sheet, I have to. It is negotiable.
It's always negotiable.
And what are some of the major things that they cover in that?
Well, I'll come to that, but let me finish the funding process.
Okay.
Because there are a couple important points to be made.
Yeah.
So once you have signed the term sheet, then you enter a no-shop period. No-shop means now you cannot talk to other investors and look for other term sheets. It's like getting engaged. When you take the engagement ring, certain rules apply. You're not married yet, but certain rules still apply. So you got to go through this. What's happening now is the legal due diligence. Now they want to make sure that did you work with some co-founders who left and he never assigned the intellectual property to the company? Do you really own the patents you said you own? Did you leave the last company and stole a bunch of things from the company and now will come back to haunt you? 20% of the deals fall through during the legal due diligence. So legal due diligence and technical contract signing takes anywhere from 1 to 2 months. Then you close the funding, but should you celebrate now? Not yet. You got to wait the time now. After legal due diligence, then Invest VC makes a cap call. This is when they request to their limited partner, send in the check, because we got to pay these people, send in a wire.
Yeah.
When the money comes in your bank, then you can celebrate and open the champagne, but no sooner. A lot of time things fall through during this process.
Yes.
Now let's come back to the question you asked.
Yeah. What is in the term sheet?
So term sheet, there are basically about 20 to 25 different terms, but they're 4 into 4 buckets, and each bucket should be analyzed separately. One bucket is valuation. What is the company worth? And there's some other economics which I'll talk about. The second thing is it has to do with control. And we'll talk about where does the control come from and what other things will happen. Next thing will be exit economics. And fourth thing is founder's treatment. So each one of them, you need to ask yourself what is more important to you. A lot of people say you get 2 term sheets, one values the company at 3 million, one at 4 million. You high five each other, yay, yay, 4 million. Well, let's carefully look through other situations. For example, control comes from control does not come from ownership. Controls come from board control, board seat. If investors have 5 board seat, investors has 3 and you have 2, you have very little control. You may have 51% of the company, but you have no control because of the board. It comes from board, it comes from something called protective provisions. Protective provisions basically spells out, usually it says that a super majority of Series A will decide if you can raise more money, who can you raise it from, or when can you sell the company. So you have total control. You can't even sell the company because protective provision may prohibit you. So you have to really look at these things. Valuation is what the company is worth. What is it? It's going to be 43 cents per share or 48 cents per share or how many shares. So that's that valuation. Exit economics is something called liquidation preferences. Liquidation preference describes when things go bad, when a company has an exit. Do investors get whatever the money put in out first before it's divided among shareholders?
Yeah.
1x, 2x, 3x, 4x. So company is sold for, let's say, the investor put in 5 million. And suppose they have 3x liquidation preference. This means if company is sold, the first 3 times the money they put in, 15 million, will be taken off the table for them. And if it's a participating versus non-participating preferred, then they can participate again. They convert the shares and participate again. Suppose company sold for 20 million. You have 10% of the company. You're all excited. $2 million. You even start looking at some new cars. But wait, because if the math is 3x liquidation preference, you company sold for 20 million. Investors will take the first 15 million because 3 times liquidation preference means the first 3 times the money they put in comes out. Now it's that is 5 million. And now they participate again, they convert the shares to common and it's divided among everybody. So you had 10% of the company, you getting 10% of this amount. You're getting only $500,000. Not 2 million.
So even if you started the whole company, you built it up, you have taken it to a good exit, you may not be making any money or very little money.
It's possible. So this is why you really have to understand that exit economics really matter. You may have a great valuation, but one company investors has 3x liquidation preference, one has 1x liquidation preference. 1x is much more preferred. Then my favorite is the founder's treatment. What happens if you're terminated? One term sheet may say you get terminated, you lose all your unvested shares. And you're out. You could be terminated for any reason. Second one gives you protection. If you're terminated with no cause, then all your shares vest. In terms of acquisition, half your shares vest automatically. That is a very different impact. So that's why when you analyze the term sheet, you have to look at these 4 buckets because each one of them have different profound implications. And the book actually goes into more detail how to analyze the term sheet.
The Get Funded book?
Get Funded book, yeah.
So take a look at this. Go to naimjaffer.com. You can find more details about the book. Also, we will tweet it up. Now, so what you're saying is basically a founder can actually be terminated from his own company that he has founded and built. Especially
lost control. Yeah. Because the control. As soon as you take other people's money, you give up control. They'll be hidden somewhere where you'll give up. Because no sane venture capital is going to give money without taking control. So control is hidden somewhere in some provisions.
So in many ways, this is probably the most important part of your forming a company from a founder's perspective. They want to make sure that they still have shares in the company. They still hold proper rights in the company. They don't get fired from the company. They make money so when the company exits.
So best thing is don't take anybody's money. That's the best way to do that. That's why a lot of companies in India are family money, family funded. So you cannot have this control over people. Other thing is to analyze this thing carefully. Now remember, if company has a big exit, when everybody's happy, a lot of these protective provisions don't apply. Because company sold for 200 million, giving them 15, who cares?
Yeah.
So they actually designed this thing to protect themselves when things don't go well on the downside. Typically, a founder is thinking things will go great. So he's thinking about the other scenario, and it doesn't matter. They are thinking about both scenarios.
Okay. Now, how much, when should a founder say, okay, this is enough, even though the term sheets are not very great, this is enough, or I should go forward with this, and no, this is real. Because there could be a paranoid founder who says, no, I don't want any of this, I want to keep it. What is the right balance? How do you find the right balance for that?
It's no formula. I mean, it has to make sense. If you're taking other people's money, you have to give control. But again, you're both sides of the table. Both parties make money if company succeeds. So your investors' interests are aligned with your interest. So let's just work hard. Let's not fight them, and let's do the right thing.
Okay.
But some people who are so paranoid don't want this, then they don't take anybody's money. They can go slow. They may succeed. They may not succeed. That's why it's not easy. It's hard. So my personal advice is stop worrying about control. Stop worrying about some of these ownerships. Do it again. Do it often. Start a company. Company is successful. You don't have to hit a home run every time. Amma chikke to nahi marna. Ikke dukke maro. It all adds up.
Yeah. No, good. So now can this term sheets be ever reevaluated? Can you go back to the VCs? Hey, look, we are doing great. We are doing better than what we have. Will they ever look at reevaluating them, or once you have signed it, that's it? It's signed in blood.
Term sheet is just an intermediate document.
Okay.
What you sign is the closing document, which is like contract. So like term sheet, like MOU.
Yes.
Memorandum of Understanding.
Okay.
So that ceases to be important as soon as you sign the real contract.
How about the contract?
Yeah, no. Once done is done.
Yeah.
Then you hopefully worry about next time when you raise money. Then you have done good things. Then that's everybody.
And it's not only just this, right? Next time, if you're doing a Series A funding, for a Series B funding, term sheets can be important because the Series B, even if there is a guy ready to put money, they may not like the contracts, what's there in the term sheet, and they may shy away from putting money.
Exactly. That's a very important point. That a lot of time you don't want to make your terms so onerous, so that next is scare away the next Series B guy to come in. You want to make it as vanilla, as generic, as simple to attract the new investor for the next series. And your VCs also understand that. Yeah. So they don't make strange, complicated things like secret bonuses for board members and founders and this and that. Keep it simple.
Great. No, thanks a lot. We'll see you next week again on another episode of eLagan Whiteboard Friday.